In this video, I'm gonna show you how to build a worship keyboard rig that runs on Ableton Live. I'll talk all about the hardware, the software, and the Ableton template that's gonna save you a ton of time. I'm also gonna share some advanced tips for automating patch changes and syncing up your tempo in Ableton when running Ableton on multiple computers. And finally, the setup I'm gonna show you works both for Mac and PC. So keep watching this video to the end and you'll know everything you need for an amazing keyboard rig built on Ableton Live. This video is brought to you by Lead Worship with Ableton, a free training to help you get started with the #1 worship leading software. With Ableton Live, you can run a click, backing tracks, and automate lyrics and lighting. It's the best tool for increasing excellence and eliminating distracting mistakes in worship. Click the link in the description to enroll in the free training today. My name is Jake Goslin. I'm the creator of Churchfront.com, an online resource for innovative and creative church leaders. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so you can receive all of our latest content to help you grow yourself and grow your church. Be sure to also check out the show notes below this video for some helpful resources and free tools for your worship ministry, including a lot of the tools and resources that are going to be mentioned in this video. If you have any questions about this setup, let me know below in the comments. I will respond as soon as possible. If you're unfamiliar with Ableton Live, it's an advanced digital audio workstation that's extremely versatile. I use it every Sunday to run a click and tracks and to automate production elements for my church's worship gatherings. But did you know you can also use Ableton Live for an amazing worship keyboard rig? Whether you're using Ableton Live Intro, Standard, or Suite version, all three versions come with a varying amount of built-in instruments that can sound great for your worship band. And I'm a big advocate that churches build a keyboard rig that runs on software, whether it's Mainstage or Ableton Live. I think it's much more cost-effective and easier to use than purchasing an expensive keyboard workstation like a Nord. So whether you're building a brand new worship keyboard rig or you're switching over from another setup that you currently have, here is all the hardware, software, and the template you're gonna need. First, it's quite obvious, you're gonna need a laptop. Ableton Live does run on Mac and PC. Go to ableton.com where you can browse the different options for Ableton. I recommend the Standard if you can afford it. And also be sure to check out the system requirements to make sure that your computer has all the specs necessary to run Ableton smoothly. One of the advantages of Ableton Live is that it's so well developed that it's very processor efficient. So that means you don't need the most powerful computer out there to run this setup efficiently. The next piece of hardware you're gonna need is a MIDI keyboard. The MIDI keyboard does not produce any sound itself. What you're gonna do is plug it into your Ableton Live laptop with a USB cable, and then the keyboard will tell Ableton what notes you're playing. And MIDI keyboards are very affordable. You don't have to get a super fancy one, and it's up to you how large it is, how many keys you have, and whether or not those keys are weighted or semi-weighted. The one I have here is the M-Audio Keystation 49ES, and at our church we actually use the M-Audio Hammer 88. So it's a full-size, weighted, 88 key keyboard, and I think it costs around $400. But a little keyboard like this, you could easily get used for less than $100. And then you're gonna need one more piece of hardware to get the sound from your Ableton Live laptop to your sound system. One way to do it is to get a 3.5mm dual 1/4" cable that's gonna come out of the headphone jack on your laptop, and that goes to a DI box, which then goes to your sound system. Another way to do it, which I recommend, is just getting an inexpensive audio interface that you can plug in via USB to your Ableton Live laptop, and that will help relieve some of the audio processing load from your computer. So that's just a brief overview of the hardware you're gonna need for this Ableton Live keyboard setup. Before I go on, it's important for you to know that I'm not a keyboard expert or enthusiast. I know there's a lot of folks out there who know a whole lot more than I do about using patches and Ableton Live and making your own sounds. I'm a worship leader. I know what sounds good for my context, and I don't want to spend hours trying to learn how to create patches and being able to adjust all the nuances of patches inside Ableton Live, I much prefer just downloading a template that has all of it built in, but still allow the flexibility for me to customize some of my own sounds. So if you're a worship leader, I highly recommend you do the same. And what I use for my Ableton Live setup here is Sunday Keys for Ableton by SundaySounds.com. My friend David and his team over at SundaySounds.com continue to impress me with the products they're creating for worship keyboardists. They're probably better known for their main stage template called Sunday Keys, but they've also created a template for Ableton called Sunday Keys, and that's the template I'm using here in this rig. And this Sunday Keys template works on both Ableton Live 9 and 10, and it can work with intro, standard, and suite. I'm using standard. I'm not sure if the templates for the different versions of Ableton will have different types of sound, but my guess is what you see here for the standard version will look very similar for the intro version, just with less scenes and tracks. So in front of me, I have my MIDI keyboard, which is plugged in to this laptop here that's running Ableton Live Standard with the Sunday Keys for Ableton template. And then I have my other laptop that's running Ableton Live, and this is a Sunday session. I actually have pulled up the set list from this last Sunday at our church, and I'll show you what I have going on over here in a few minutes. So let's first focus on the Sunday Keys for Ableton template so you can see how it works. The first thing you're gonna notice is this template is built in Session View, and I think Session View works really great for this type of purpose in Ableton Live for calling up these different instrument sounds. And at first glance, this does look pretty intimidating. There's lots of different colors and boxes and rows and knobs going on here, but I want to break down to you how simple this actually is. Here's the big picture overview of this template. These vertical columns right here are your different tracks that contain the patches for piano, pad, synth, and then some auxiliary patches, as well as some tonic pad patches. And you even have an extra track for extra patches if you want to throw in, another layer in there. And what's going to happen, I'll just trigger one of these Sunday Keys patch examples up here, is you can layer all these patches together. So in this first one I have triggered by triggering the master scene right here. You're going to hear worship piano, suite, electric piano, chapel pad, warm pad, all of these. And I can trigger a different scene. And then I can also just turn all the scenes off, so there's no patches playing right now and it's silent. This section down here is the core of the template where all of these individual patches live, because these presets up here were created by simply copying and pasting the appropriate patches into the appropriate columns, so you can layer them however you want, and you can layer whatever combination of sounds that you would like. So there are 13 different piano patches, 13 different pad patches, 13 different synth patches, 13 different auxiliary patches, and then we have the tonic pad patches right here. So if I want to just kind of play some sounds on the fly, I just go and I click on the sound that I want. So let's say I want this hazy piano right here. I'll enable that, and I'll play that a little bit for you too. So that's just the hazy piano, but then if I want to add some pad on, I just click on the appropriate pad. So let's say I want the brass pad. Let's say I want to add in some synth, so I'll put some mood synth. And then I can add some auxiliary patches in, which are, a lot of them are arpeggiators here. So it's really easy to pick out different sounds on the fly and create those different combinations. And with this template, it's really easy to create your own presets with combining different patches. So I'm just gonna go underneath some of the presets they've already made. I'll select one of their presets and create a new one underneath it by pressing Command I. That's going to give me a new scene underneath that preset. And now I just drag in the different sounds I want to have in a preset. So let's say I want to have mod piano and I want to have some brass pad. I don't need a synth, and maybe I just want some, let's see, some bells here. And then I want to make sure the tracks I'm not using are turned off, so I'm just going to copy and paste in this off clip here. And then when I go over to the master scene launch button, it's going to enable all the patches I dragged in there, and this is what it sounds like. This would be ideal if maybe you want to have a bank of different presets that are your go-to standard presets, or maybe you want to create a unique preset for an individual worship song. Another great thing is you can select a patch and you can really dial in the sound with all these settings right here. And I'm not going to go into detail with this. Again, I'm not an expert in this area. I like how they've already made it sound great, and you can easily customize the sounds by combining these patches, or maybe doing things like just adjusting volume. But you can adjust the high pass and low pass filters, EQ, compression, other effects like reverb and delay. There's a whole lot of customizations you can do here. You don't necessarily need the Sunday Keys template to produce great sounds in Ableton Live, but again, I want to emphasize that they're just saving you so much time at achieving the appropriate sounds for a modern worship context. So in my opinion, it's totally worth the price tag of this template for $45. You can also use the Nano Control 2 by Korg to control the sounds of your patches on the fly. And Sunday Keys has created a skin, which is basically a decal you put on that MIDI controller, which matches up with the color scheme and the layout of what you see in their templates. So I think it's always best in a live context to not have to fiddle around with your computer to make these patch changes. So that Nano Control 2 can make it really easy to adjust these settings by having a nice little piece of hardware on your piano keyboard that's connected to Ableton. In the remainder of this video, I want to unpack how I'm going to be using this Ableton Live template alongside of my Ableton Live session that runs my click, tracks, and service automation. While in theory you can run tracks alongside of these keyboard patches in Ableton, it's not my personal preference because it doesn't really fit that well into my Ableton Live workflow that I'm using in Arrangement View. And now again, you can use these patches in Arrangement View. It's just not super smooth of a setup for me. I much prefer actually delegating different roles to different computers and laptops in my worship service. I don't like putting all my software on one computer because I think it's requiring too much of these computers, and it increases the chances that something's gonna fail. So I have one laptop on stage that's by our stage snake, by our drummer, that runs our Ableton click, tracks, and service automation, and then I'll have this other laptop with my keyboardist to run these patches. And there's two really cool things you can do in this type of environment when you have Ableton running on multiple computers, one running tracks, one running your keyboard patches. The first great thing you can do is you can sync up their tempo using Ableton's Link feature. And this is a really easy feature to enable. So on both computers, make sure you're on the same Wi-Fi network. That's step one. And then all you have to do is click the little link button on the top left of Ableton's window right here, and you'll see it will show the number of computers it has linked together. And right now it's showing one link on each computer because they're each just linked to each other. And make sure if you do not see that button for some reason, the link button, under link MIDI preferences, just make sure you have show link toggle enabled right here. Now what's gonna happen, now that this link feature is enabled, is that when one computer changes tempo, the other computer is gonna follow along and match it up. And this is really important for playing patches in worship, because a lot of patches have rhythmic elements to them that you need to have on time with the rest of the band. So I'm using a master tempo clip right here that has the segment BPM at 115. So that's the beats per minute tempo of You Are Life by Hillsong Worship. And you can see that immediately when I queued up this locator for the song, the playhead hit the tempo clip, changed this to 115, and in my other computer, it's at 115 as well. And you'll also notice if I change the tempo manually with the computer running my patches to 60, watch what happens to the computer running tracks. It kind of messes everything up because it also changed this session over here to 60 beats per minute. I don't really ever need to do that, but I'm just showing you how this functionality works. So I'm gonna undo that. Everything went back to normal over there. The next cool thing you can do is actually call up different patch changes in Ableton Live using Ableton Live on your Click and Tracks computer. So that's what I have set up here. You'll notice I have two tracks here, keys 1 and keys 2, and these are tracks where I drop in MIDI cues to call up the right patches in the Sunday Keys template. And what I did is I created an Ableton Live project that just has a bunch of MIDI clips with different MIDI notes that aren't gonna play any sound. They are simply used to map to the different patches in the Sunday Keys template. And then once I created that template, all I have to do is drag and drop in the appropriate patches into the appropriate part of the timeline. So again, this computer running a Click and Track is not producing any of the patch sounds itself. It's simply calling up the right patch sounds inside the other computer running the Ableton Live patches. I know that might sound confusing, but here's what it looks like. So I'll actually call up a random patch. So here's a random preset in the Sunday Keys template. And watch what happens when I start off the song You Are Life. So it's gonna shut everything off. Then it queues up the right synth patch. 4. So I would use that patch for the intro and first verse, and then when I get to the chorus, it changes to the brassy arp. Chorus 2, 3, 4. And then it switches back to the other synth. So I'll skip to the second chorus, and this one has two patch changes in it. So here's the first one with the arpeggiator. And then here's the other one with the anthem lead patch. And then we get to the bridge, and then there's another patch change. And I'll show you one more cool thing. It's at the end of the song, and usually after our first song, that's when I will say some words of welcome to the congregation, maybe say an opening prayer. So it always sounds great to have some pads in the background. And of course, this template, the Sunday Keys template, comes with some tonic pads that just drone in the background in the appropriate key. So what I did here is I added the cue in for the proper tonic pad, and then I also added in a cue for just the worship piano sound. So watch what happens when I play the end of this song. So these are the audio pads, but I have those muted. So it hits the cue to turn everything off, it cues in the pad right here, and then it cued the worship piano right here. And then this pad, we can adjust the sound down here in the patch detail section. So it's just incredibly flexible. I love running my patches on a separate computer so that my keyboardist can still have full control of what's going on in the moment, while at the same time,
I can make their lives a lot easier by pulling up those patches we know we're gonna need at certain times automatically. I know I covered a lot in this video, and honestly, it only scratches the surface. You can do so much with Ableton Live, you can do so much with the Ableton keys template from Sunday Sounds, and I encourage you to check this out for yourself and mess around and be creative with it. And just to be clear, you do not need to be running a click in tracks in order to utilize this Sunday keys template, because you can use it without a click in tracks. I just wanted to give you a demonstration of the possibilities that are out there. Let me know if you have any questions about this setup below in the comments, and I've included links to all the resources, including the Sunday Keys template, in the description of the video. If you're a worship leader and you're new to Ableton Live and you see all that it can accomplish right here, but you don't really know where to get started to understand how to do all this, I highly encourage you to sign up for my free training, Lead Worship with Ableton. It's gonna walk you through everything you need to know to get started with the #1 worship leading software. So just click the link below in the description, complete the form, and I'll send you that free training. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this video helpful, hit that thumbs up button and share it with your friends in ministry. Don't forget to subscribe to the Churchfront channel so you can continue to receive all of our latest content to help you grow yourself and grow your church.